Let's go, let's go. Let's go, let's go. Let's go, let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Nashville Tour Stop Podcast. My name is Aaron, and across my living room from me today is also Aaron.
Yep.
We've got Aaron Clafton on the couch.
What's going on? Happy to be here.
Welcome to my home.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome. I mean, we were just talking about living in small places. I welcomed you when you got here to my shoebox.
Yep. And this is like a mansion compared to my place.
You live in a studio, right?
A studio, 300 square feet. And
So does it come complete with a bathroom, or is it the bathroom kitchen sink combo?
it's got its own separate bathroom, which
Thank
is
God.
nice.
So you've got at least one wall in there.
Yep. And then I've got a separate kitchen area, which is nice. And then I've got my bedroom, living room, dining room, office, all in
the
a
same
14 by 14 box.
So when did you move in there?
I moved in there almost a year ago. I moved in June of last year.
Okay.
So I'll probably be moving out in June.
To get you a 400
sometime.
square foot place.
Right. Hopefully this new music takes off so I can afford something a little nicer, you know.
Move into a big mansion down
Right,
in Brentwood
yeah.
or something.
Dream big, right?
Dream big. Yeah.
Manifest.
Ooh, one of these days I'll be able to live in a 600 square foot apartment. So when did you move to town? When did you get to Nashville?
Yeah, so I just hit my 7-year Nash-anniversary.
No way.
Yeah, I moved here St. Patrick's Day of 2016.
2016?
Yeah.
All right.
Creeping up on 10 years, which
That's
is
crazy, buddy.
crazy.
I'm about to have my 6-year anniversary here. I moved here
Wow.
in July of 2017.
Wow. Isn't it crazy how fast time went by?
It's crazy how fast it's gone by, and also how dramatically the city has changed in the last 6-7 years.
Oh, I know. It's insane. Like I look at the skyline and it's like when I moved here, I was like, okay, like there's a ton of cranes.
There's a couple
It'll still
big buildings.
resemble what I know, you know? And then now I look at it and I'm like, what is this? You know, like
One of these days we're gonna roll in and someone is gonna be like, "Yeah, I live in the financial district downtown." And you're like, "What? There's money."
yep. And the new airport, I haven't seen it yet, but
Oh, it is huge,
yeah.
huge. The
I
whole new terminal.
Yeah. And I remember it being so easy to get in and out of there.
No longer.
No longer. It's starting to look a lot like MSP.
Yeah, it's not awful. I've been in way worse airports.
Right. St. Louis, terrible airport.
Actually, that's the only airport I flew through for a very long time.
No, St. Louis is not bad. I take that back. It's Kansas City.
Okay, I was gonna say Kansas City is way worse.
Yeah, Kansas City, I feel like I'm in
It's like a dumpster fire that they're like, and also airplanes.
Right. Yeah, I feel like I'm in like a apocalyptic world in that airport because it's like a big rotunda and it's got like half of it you can go through and like the other half is after like before security or whatever, and I'm just like scared to go anywhere because I'm like, am I going to exit and have to go through TSA again?
Am I gonna not be able to come back through? Am I gonna have to go through security again if I go
Right.
through this door?
Yeah, it's amazing there.
Have you ever flown through one of those like really, really small airports where they don't even have the terminal? They just have the truck with the stairs?
No, I've never.
My hometown of Columbia, Missouri had an airport like that where
Okay.
there was no jetway.
Yep.
They're just like, and now we're on the tarmac.
Yeah.
And there's your airplane. And
I love that.
the TSA check is one of those magic like wands that detects metal. You're just like, boop, boop,
You're good.
you're good. Yeah, that's the airport I grew up with.
Nice. Yeah. So where I went to college in Bemidji, they have an airport as well. And my friend, she flies sometimes she flies from Bemidji to Minneapolis and then to wherever she needs to go.
Right.
And she's like, I just love going through that airport because it's just so easy. There's like one old lady working at the TSA and
She doesn't really care. She's just like,
Nah, you're fine.
right. Yeah. She has to put a
cigarettes for
yeah.
the last 60 years.
She puts a sign up on my smoke break or whatever it is, you know. That's
So-
all speculation. I don't know if that's true or not. But.
"Oh, we love you, TSA. Thank you for keeping us safe."
Yeah.
Especially the old smoker lady.
Right.
So 7 years in town, man.
Yeah.
What was the thing that made you choose Nashville over all the other arts places in the country?
Well, I had done music pretty much in my hometown of Sauk Rapids. Pretty much when I was 16, like I was playing county fairs, talent shows, that whole thing, and like I would listen to records and follow people on MySpace, like Zach Brown Band and Taylor Swift.
We were old enough to have had MySpace.
Yeah. And so I would like see that they're all based in Nashville, and I was like, okay, maybe that's where I need to go. And so I had always, since I was 16, I was like, I want to move to Nashville, and that's going to be where I am going to do my thing. And
there never was another place.
There was never another place.
That's awesome.
New York and LA were too big for me.
They're still too big for me.
You know? And so, yeah, I had done this like CMT competition thing. And it was called Music City Madness. And it was like a songwriting competition, and you would submit a video of you playing an original song, and they would do like a bracket style where fans could vote you through to the final rounds. And I don't even know what the grand prize was, but I just kind of entered on a whim, and I ended up making like the top 64 entries at 16 years old with a god awful song.
What was it called? Do you remember?
It's called October Air.
Oh, dramatic. Yep. That sounds like something a 16-year-old would write.
Yeah. And I mean, looking back at it, it was like, it had the whole structure, like it kind of rhymed, you know, but it had like verse, bridge, chorus, you know, like it was pretty good for a 16-year-old, but looking back, I'm like, I could have done way better.
Like, thank God I never have to play that in front of people.
Right. My friends back home, though, they'll still like request that song. And I'm like, I don't even remember how to play that song, you know?
I have the same thing happen when I go back home and play shows. People are like, oh, can you play For the Night from the 2017 album? I'm like, I forgot I wrote that.
Right. But yeah, so I made that the top 64, and like I got to go on our local radio show, and I got to be in the St. Cloud Times, and
dang, son,
I was like, okay, this is cool. This is a possibility. And so, yeah.
So what'd you go to college for then?
I went to school for marketing communications at Bemidji State, and nobody in my family really did music or like saw that as like a career.
My family still doesn't.
Right.
Sorry, Dad.
So my parents were big on like, you need to go to college and like have a backup plan if this whole thing doesn't work out. And
I had the same backup plan.
And honestly, like when I was 18 years old, I had no idea that there was a way to make a living making music or writing songs or any of that. Granted, I'm still not making money writing songs, but I mean, there's
it's possible.
It's possible, and there's an avenue for like performing live, and
it happens more here than it does pretty much anywhere else.
Yeah, totally.
So was music something that started when you were like a teenager or so?
Yeah.
When did you get your first guitar?
Got my first guitar on my 13th birthday.
Nice.
And for my grandpa got it, went in on it with my mom and dad, and it was a all black Rogue acoustic electric guitar.
Nice.
Yeah.
You wrote a lot of those early October airs on that one.
October Air on that guitar. Played my first live performance with that guitar.
I still have the first guitar I ever had. It was my mom's. I've still got it in my bedroom now. Never, ever play it.
Yep.
But it's there.
Yeah, my parents still have it in their house somewhere.
Really?
Yeah.
Not one of those ones that made it down here?
No, because I have like 3 guitars with me that I never play, and I'm like, I'll just let you guys hold on to it. They're my storage unit until I can afford it.
It's not like you're going to get to play the Opry and be like, that's the one.
Right, yeah. But yeah, I remember I wanted it all black because I wanted to be like Johnny Cash. So, and I showed up in all black today.
There you go. I mean, you do have that nice, deep Johnny Cash voice.
Hello, I'm Johnny Cash.
Maybe it's just the fact that we're both named Aaron, but we both got that nice, deep voice.
Yep.
Were you in choir growing up too?
I was in choir. I did band in middle school.
What part did you sing in choir?
I was like a baritone.
A baritone?
Yeah.
Me too, baby.
Baritone / bass if we needed an extra oomph
an extra
there.
low note.
Yeah. I could never do like the tenor parts though. So.
I would love to be able to sing like that. Like, I love rock music. I wanted to be a rock singer, and I don't have it.
I know, me neither. I'm always like at cover gigs, I'm always like transposing, transpose, lower that key for me.
Thank you, guitartab.com, for having the transpose button.
Right.
Bring it down like 9 steps.
Yep.
And then it's just like, okay, just capo it at 9.
Yep, exactly.
Your guitar sounds really high and jangly, and then you're singing it right down here.
Yep.
So did you do music in college, or did you kind of take a break from it?
Yeah, I did music in college. My freshman year, I don't know what came over me, but I was like, I'm going to play at college bars. And so I literally like drove around. There was only like maybe 6 or 7 bars in town.
Is Bemidji a pretty small college town? Yeah,
the college itself had like 5,000 total students. But it was a pretty big hub because like it was a pretty rural area, and like the nearest town was like an hour away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we were like the only town with a Walmart and like.
Did all of those places have live music?
No.
Okay.
No. So I had to like, well, one of them did, I should say. But I literally walked door to door to all these bars and was like, hey, like I'm a country artist. Can I play at your bar? And all of them were like, nah, we don't do live music. Sorry. Except for one. And it was called the Toasty Beaver.
The Toasty Beaver might be one of the weirdest names of a bar I've ever heard in my life.
It was definitely a dive for sure. It was the only bar that was open till 2 a.m.
Can you paint a picture of what it was like at the Toasty Beaver?
Yes. So it was kind of like a lodgy feel in the front part of it. It had like a lot of like wood, like beams and stuff in it. It was like a kind of a basement-ish bar too. You'd have to like go down half a level from the street, and then it had like tables, dartboard, pool tables. It had like a wooden boat over the bar.
Nice.
And
like a rowboat?
Yeah. And in the back half of it was like a dance floor with where they would set up DJs.
Nice.
It was definitely a very sketchy place.
I think the dive bar aesthetic is just, oh yeah, we'll just throw whatever into this bar, and they're like, that matches.
Yep. And so I would sing by the dartboards. I'd set up my PA system.
Nice.
That my grandpa got me, and I would play for 4 hours. They'd pay me $50. And
nothing like making $12.25 an hour.
Yeah. I would make tips too. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
That's more money than I made at my hourly job back in college.
Right. And so I would play there Wednesday nights. And I was under 21 at the time. So sometimes like the bartender would like
you get the big black X's on your hands.
They didn't even do X's, man.
Wow.
Yeah. They would just give me beers every now and then though, which was fun. But what was great about it is I was on the meal plan in college. And had all my housing paid for because it was my freshman year. Well, paid for, loaned.
Right. Paid for.
And so that $50 was enough to get gas in my tank for the week. And then I would be able to buy a case of beer for the weekends. So
that's not a bad life.
It was pretty good.
Especially when you're 20, 21 years old and you have no money.
Right.
As soon as you have $50 in your wallet, you're like, damn, I'm rolling hot tonight.
Right. Plus whatever tips I made. One of my favorite stories, though, is that I was playing there, and I think Red Solo Cup had just come out or a few years prior, and I was like, oh, yeah, this is going to get the people going. Started playing Red Solo Cup. Literally everybody in the bar booed. And I was like, okay, noted. Not going to play this song again.
I mean, I don't even hear that at bars in Nashville.
I know.
You don't really hear a lot of Toby Keith, except for Beer for My Horses.
Yeah, that's a great song. Every now and then I'll do the Angry American as my karaoke song.
Nice.
And that gets people going pretty good.
You know, Toby Keith gets slack in Nashville, but I mean, he's not bad.
No,
he's insanely successful.
Yeah. Like he was like one of the first CDs that I bought.
He was one of the only country artists I was exposed to as a kid because my mom listened to the Dixie Chicks and Toby Keith.
Wow.
So that's all I knew back then.
Some polar opposites.
Yeah, no kidding. That's all I knew back then. And then I moved to Nashville and I was like, oh, there's a lot more. I remember one of my first times in Nashville, this girl was talking about George Strait, and I honestly 100% looked at her dead in the eyes and said, "Who's that?"
Oh my gosh.
I moved here with no knowledge of Nashville.
Yeah.
And she just looked at me like a dummy. She's like,
Man.
"Bro." Like,
Well, I'm glad you learned real quick who George Strait was.
real quick. Yeah. One of the things I learned real quick was if you don't know something, just don't tell people. Just let them think you do.
Yeah,
Nod, smile and wave, boys. Smile and wave.
Yeah, that's my go-to move. I'm like, oh yeah, and I just nod and
Sounds familiar.
sounds familiar. Yep.
Yeah, the people do that all the time with me. They're like, "Oh, do you know so and so?" My go-to response every time is, "I'm familiar with the name, but I don't think I could put a face to it."
Same here.
Yeah,
here.
it's like, yeah, I've probably heard your name. I hear a bajillion names.
Yep.
But if I meet another blonde girl named Hannah Smith, like, I'm sorry, Hannah Smith. There's more than one of you.
Right, and there's the same thing with Aaron's right now.
Yeah, I mean, you are now the third Aaron to have been on the podcast.
Oh wow, okay.
Because Aaron Cooper used to be our co-host of the show, but yeah, you are the first. I think the first guy Aaron I've had as a guest.
Yeah, A-A-Ron's.
A-A-Ron.
Got to represent.
Yeah, so that was 2011 when Key and Peele put that video out, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
What year did you graduate from high school? Oh my God, I heard my own accent.
Wow, you sounded Southern.
Wow, that slipped right out. When did you graduate?
I graduated from high school in 2011.
2011. So that would have been right around the time you graduated
Yep.
that video came out.
Yep. It didn't really I didn't really hear much about it until like college though.
That was around the
some
time
people
I started
did.
hearing it too, because I graduated in 2012.
Yeah.
And when I was in college, people just out of nowhere, they're just like, "You done messed up, A-A-Ron." I was like, "That's okay."
I still
didn't
to
get
this
it.
day have never seen it.
You've still never seen it?
No.
Is that just like a point of contingency now? You're just like, "I will not."
Yep. Yep. I wonder if like people named, because I know that there's like a Denice.
D-Nice, Jay Quellen,
Yep.
T-Mothy.
Yep.
Anytime I meet one of them in the wild, it's like meeting an old war buddy. You're just like, "Oh, I remember 2011."
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, that video changed my life because now when I go to like a Starbucks, they ask for your name or
Yeah.
whatever. And when I tell them Aaron, they look like a dog that sees a treat. They're like, "Ah,
Yeah.
I gotta say it." I'm like,
I went to Velvet Taco last night and
also incredible tacos. Hashtag
Incredible.
this is not an ad.
yeah.
But go on, Velvet Taco.
Went to Velvet Taco, and when they call your name, they're like, the lady was like, "A-A-Ron, it's taco time," and I'm like, nice.
We've only heard that every day of our lives for more than a decade now.
Yep, I get that, and then did you say Eric Clapton?
Oh
All the
my
time.
God, I cannot imagine.
Yeah,
Because your name being Aaron Clafton
it's so close.
in a loud bar,
Yeah.
it's really not a stretch.
It's really not. I always say like I wish I was a Clapton because then maybe I could get some sort of money or like have some musical leverage, you know?
Right, but no,
One letter off.
You should introduce yourself as Eric Clapton once, and then somebody's like, "Eric Clapton," and you're like, "No, Aaron Clafton."
Yeah.
Say it backwards, and they're like, "Oh, I thought you said Eric Clapton." You're like, "Oh, that'd be sweet."
I love that. I'm going to use that.
So when you started playing the guitar, were you just doing cover tunes, or did you immediately want to like get into songwriting?
I started out like trying to play songs that I loved.
Do you remember the first song you learned?
It was, I don't remember exactly, but I remember the first song that I learned to play for a talent show. And it was 8th grade, and it was "Come a Little Closer" by Dierks Bentley.
Nice.
Because it was just an E chord to an A chord the whole song.
time.
And it was just 1, 2, 3, 4. It was just like a super simple strum pattern, and I could sing along with it. And I went to like, you had to audition for the talent show, and I played it. And one of the teachers that was running it, they were like, "You sounded great, but we can't let you sing this song." And I was pissed, devastated. And so
Too inappropriate for school.
too inappropriate. And looking back, it was definitely too inappropriate. The song was all about sex.
Yeah,
and-
can't really have that like 14-year-old pre-hormonal energy, just like
Never,
I really
never,
want to.
never even been with a woman. Just like, yeah, it's no big deal. And I was,
You don't think it's that naive, like childhood innocence? You're like, I just liked the song.
right. It sounds good and I can play it, you know? And so then I had to learn Johnny Cash's I Walk the Line.
Okay.
And the day of the show, I broke the string on my guitar. And it was the first time I had ever broken a string. And I remember my dad just being like, all right, we got to go get new strings for this thing. And I was stressed. And he was just like, we were driving all over town trying to find a place to buy guitar strings. And I had never changed guitar strings in my life before. Didn't know I could just be like, here, can you change these strings for me? So I was like pulling up old school YouTube videos on how to change guitar strings.
I did that too.
And I was rushing to get it done before the show.
Which string was it? Do you remember?
Oh, I don't even know. Honestly, I think we got them from Walmart. And
Which one was it that broke?
I don't even remember. I think it was one of the higher strings.
The G string. That's always the one that breaks for me.
Yeah. And so I like put the strings on and it was pretty easy. I figured it out and then tuned it up, got to the show, didn't tune my guitar again.
And it sounded...
First strum just so out of tune. And I was like, oh my God, this is a train wreck. I get through like halfway through the song and I'm like so like nervous and like
You're mortified that it sounds out of tune.
yeah. And then I completely blanked on the words and where I was at. So I threw some like kept going, threw some la-las in there to like get me through the song. And yeah, I survived it and somehow decided I still wanted to do that.
Wow. That's a pretty rough first performance.
It was rough.
Where was your first like actual show that wasn't a school thing?
Funny. It was actually, oh my God, let me pull it up on my phone. March 27th, 2010.
That's today.
I know.
That's the day we're recording
years
this.
ago. And this was other than like a talent show or a county fair or something like this. This was my first paid gig. And me and my friend Carrie Cooper, we impersonated Sugarland.
Nice.
For an 80-year-old's birthday party.
80-year-old's birthday party?
Yep.
Wow.
And
because they definitely know Sugarland.
Yeah. I mean, he did. He was a big fan. And my friend's mom worked at, or no, she was walking through Coburn's, our like local grocery store, and Sugarland was doing like a promotion with Dr. Pepper, I think. And they had a big cardboard cutout of Sugarland, and she like brought that to the birthday party, like as like a prop.
Steal it?
She asked like the manager and was like, "Hey, can I have that?" And they're like, "Yeah."
The other like, we don't care.
We don't care. But yeah, I think we got paid like $50 for like a 2-hour performance.
Nice.
And we sang all the Sugarland hits and some other cover tunes. And I had to like, I came up with this like great idea. I was going to have this 80-year-old and his wife do a slow dance to, I think, some Tim McGraw song. I think It's Your Love. And this old man is like in a wheelchair, like can barely walk. And I like called them up to like the side stage to
you
dance.
Wheeled over.
Yeah. And
oh my God.
He was like hunched over and they just like swayed side to side for the song. It was cute, but I was like, yeah, that was definitely probably not the move.
God, you had some brutal first shows.
I know. I mean, it was a great show. Like I thought it went really well. We dressed up like Sugarland. I wore a fedora to be like Christian Bush.
I can't imagine you wearing a fedora. You are a trucker hat only guy.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't start wearing hats really until I moved to Nashville, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't start wearing denim jackets until I moved here, but
that too.
That
too for me.
Just kind of, it's like our dress code.
Yeah, it is.
If you walk in a denim jacket, nobody looks at you.
Yeah.
Because you look exactly the same as everybody else.
When was your first show?
My first show, I was 15.
Okay.
And so we did like the school talent shows and stuff, but the first real show was at a coffee place called the Cherry Street Artisan.
Okay.
And we played like, I think it was like a half an hour. and we did like Drops of Jupiter and
Nice.
a couple of other like punk rock covers, the Yellow Card, and then we had 2 songs that the band's singer had written, and I remember just being like, top of the world, buddy, and
Yeah.
we got $0 in tips, but I look back on it fondly
Yeah.
because that place is now closed.
Yeah.
Like, I can walk by it in my hometown and be like, that basement. That's where I performed on stage the first time.
It's crazy how like those moments, like looking back, you're like, I was terrified, but all it took was one person to be like, I see that you have something.
Somebody to be like, that was awesome, and then it'll float you for years.
It will. I will. I remember our like middle school choir teacher, after I like butchered that Johnny Cash song, she came up to me and she's like, you did really good. She's like, and they would do like solos for like choir and stuff. Like at like, we would go perform at like the elementary school, and like there was always 2 kids that could like get up and play whatever song they wanted to play.
The talented kids.
Yeah. And she was like, I want you to do that. And I was like, okay. She's like, we're going to pick a different song for you though. And I was like, yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Well, hey, let's take a quick break and we'll come right back with the Nashville Tour Stop Podcast. And we're back with the Nashville Tour Stop Podcast. Aaron Clapton sitting across the couch from me today. Welcome back to my home, buddy.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
I'm glad to finally get to sit and talk with you. I know I say it on a lot of the episodes, but like, we are in bars and venues all the time. It's hard to have meaningful conversations with our friends in places like that.
Yeah, this is nice to like really have a conversation. And I know we were talking on the break too about like when we first met and stuff, and when we became friends and all that.
So that is the question I always ask is, do you remember how we met? The answer can be no, because I don't remember how I meet most people.
So, okay. I think I remember first seeing you
Okay.
at a show at the Commodore Grill.
That would, yeah.
And I think you were playing with your old band, and you had like all the bandanas on and everything.
That was our look.
Yep. And I didn't approach you or talk to you because I didn't approach or talk to anybody those first couple years.
Right.
I moved to Nashville.
You're like, I'm going to sit quietly and talk to no one.
Yep. That was me. But yeah, I remember seeing you there. And then I think we had to have met. I had to have gone to a Tour Stop show and ran into you there. And
Belcourt Taps, R.I.P.
Yeah.
But
Man.
the thing that we were talking about off mic was when we probably became better friends was the 2019 Tour Stop tour date in my hometown of Columbia, Missouri.
Yeah, man.
You came up and played that round
Yeah.
at East Side Tavern.
Gosh, I got so wasted that night.
We all did.
We all did. That bar was something else.
That
dude.
was a dive.
That was a dive.
That place is decorated with horror movie memorabilia. And there's like an old propeller airplane suspended from the ceiling.
Oh gosh, I don't even remember that.
Yet they have a werewolf
I have a
statue.
picture with the werewolf.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that place is where I got my start. But I would
Okay.
play there in college because on Wednesday nights they would have an open mic. And if you played the open mic, you could get free frozen pizza.
Ooh.
And I was so poor. I wasn't playing because I wanted to play. I was
Just
playing
wanted
because I
pizza.
needed to eat.
Gosh.
That's where I got my start. And that's where we probably became good friends.
Yeah, definitely. And I think also at the time there was a group chat, and I went out with Tyler Bank and Zane Parmiter, and they were like talking about this group chat that they had with like you and everybody in it. And I was like, add me to this group chat.
What was it called again? I don't remember. I remember that the profile photo was like a trophy or something.
Gosh, I don't even remember. Was it Twerking 9 to 5?
Twerking 9 to 5.
Yeah.
That was the one.
I have so many in my phone that I'm in now that I'm like, I don't even remember what all these are named. I've got one with like my high school friends called the Lone Wolf Pack,
Nice.
a reference to The Hangover,
Yeah.
so.
But we did that show in Columbia, and when we got there, they'd never told me that like people they schedule to perform and like sell tickets like we did or cover charge or whatever, we all drank for free. So we didn't know that until after we'd gotten there, and they gave us, I think it was like two cases of High Life.
Yep. And Fireball.
Oof. And we drank
I drank
all of it.
I think that was the most Miller High Life I've drank in my entire life.
As it should be. As it should be. But yeah, and then we were there for several hours, and then we went to the next place.
Yeah. I remember they had karaoke after our
And you and
After our
Zane
show.
did a karaoke of a remix to Ignition.
yeah. Good times.
God, that was 5 years ago.
Man. Young Aaron.
Young
Aaron's just out in the wild.
Yeah, well, I'm glad we stayed friends, because I mean, in Nashville, so many of these relationships are mainly transactional, and like you play the round, you shake the hand, you leave, and you don't talk to each other unless that happens.
Yeah.
So it's nice to actually have made a friend.
Right. Yeah. It's crazy too. And especially like with the pandemic that happened, like I think a lot that like kind of separated a lot of people that used to be really close.
That's when Twerkin' 9 to 5 died.
Yeah. It really was sad. And I mean, it's also crazy now, like after us being here almost 10 years now, like, people are starting to have success, and like their schedules are just getting crazier and crazier, and it's harder to keep up with everybody.
You want to like keep hanging with your friends, and then you realize like, shit, I've only hung out with my friends like twice this year.
Yeah, it's wild. And then relationships throw wrenches into those plans as well. And yeah.
And then people break up and they each want you to pick a side, and you're like, I like you both. And they're like, well, you can't like us both.
Yeah, that's not possible.
Yeah, but the thing that I was talking with Brandon Ellis about was the importance of like the hang in Nashville, and that was something that I didn't like recognize when I first moved here. But there's so many people who are just die hard business, and they get mad. Like there was this video I talked with him about on TikTok, some guy complaining about never having any success, and he'd been here for 4 years.
Oh wow, yeah.
I was like, man.
Yeah.
You're acting like a jerk on the internet, for one.
Yeah.
And you're in the scheme of everything, like you're still a baby in town.
Yeah. Yeah. That's something that I have to remind myself too. And I think I always have been one for like genuine connection.
Totally.
And like, if I can tell that somebody is a transactional person, or somebody who's like only talking to a certain person for their gain, like I can really read into that.
Do you know the over the shoulder conversations at bars where somebody's looking like right past you to see who else is around?
Yeah.
Those are the people I try to avoid at all costs.
Yeah. It's just really, you can just tell. And like, I'm not a person to like be fake or phony. And like, I just physically can't do it. Like I can't, like if I don't trust somebody 100%, or if I don't like completely vibe with them, like I'm gonna come across as probably cold or an asshole. But like at the end of the day, like I know my people are gonna have my back, and I'm gonna have their back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Brandon was saying there's things you'll do for your friends that you won't do for strangers, and
100%.
That's why this town is so important, to just be a bud.
Right. Yeah.
Just be a bud.
Yeah. And it's tough too, because it's like you want to play the game, but you also don't want to like lose your integrity in the whole thing. And like I can catch myself being like, oh, I need to be in connection with this person, and like I want to, but that it's a selfish reason. And then I realize I shouldn't chase that.
You start realizing that you're the person that you don't like to talk to.
Yeah. Yeah. I can catch myself doing that. And I try to like consciously like flip that back to like who I want to be,
Yeah. Some of the best advice I got when I first moved to town was don't ask people for things.
Yeah.
Offer people things.
Yeah.
And if the only thing you have to offer is your friendship, that's it. Sometimes that'll be more than enough.
Oh, 100%.
Just be someone's bud.
Yeah.
Just be cool to hang out with.
Yeah. I love that. And
I have
like,
definitely booked people on shows who are less talented because they're fun to have around.
right. Yeah. And it's also like such a long game here in Nashville. And I've learned that too. Like, it's not going to happen overnight. You're going to have to work for it, and you're going to have to not make money for a long time, and
A very long time.
a very long time. And yeah, you just got to do it because you love it, you know?
Yeah. So what's your songwriting process like? Do you co-write very much?
I have a very small circle of people I co-write with.
Who are
which
some of the people you do enjoy writing with?
I love writing with Brittany Moore.
Shout out.
Shout out to Brittany Moore. Like, she gets me 100%. Like, we're on the same wavelength as far as like what we'll settle for in a room.
That's cool.
And she'll tell me my ideas are bad, and I'll tell her ideas are bad.
That's the kind of friend you want.
Yeah, 100%. And like, I love writing with SJ McDonald too, and we don't write nearly.
I have
as
a cut with
often.
her.
You do?
Yeah.
Congrats, man. I love that song. SJ's great. I've been writing with like Cody Garrett a little bit too, and me and him kind of are on similar wavelengths, I think, as well. And
It's hard finding those people where even if you wrote a shitty song or you didn't write anything at all, the 3 hours you might have spent together doesn't feel like a waste.
Yep. And Tyler Bank too. I've written a good amount with him too, and I love writing with him.
I think I've written like dozens of songs with that guy.
He's like one of the best hangs in town. Like, always positive, always positive.
I call him a golden retriever because he's just a good boy, and he is everyone's best friend.
He is. So
yeah, I just love Tyler Bank to death because he's so pure in what he does.
he is.
He's not writing with you because he thinks he can get something out of it. He's writing with you because I think Tyler honestly loves the art of writing a song.
He does. He really does. And he's gotten so good over the years. And I don't know how he does it because he works full time and writes probably 7 days a week.
Oh yeah, he definitely does.
At least, you know.
Yeah, he writes 7 days a week, and if he writes 6 days a week, he's playing around the night that he's off.
Yeah, he is.
That man works. There's no chance in the world he will not get a pub deal one of these days.
Oh, for sure.
Because I mean, the man's already gotten maybe 24 cuts.
Yeah.
Just from having written so many with his friends.
Yeah.
And one of these days, somebody is just gonna pop off.
Right.
And then Warner Chappell's gonna be like, "Who did you write this entire album with?" I'm gonna say Tyler Bank.
Yep. So yeah.
So you're putting out new music.
Yeah, so by the time this is out, I'll have a song coming out on April 7th.
Yeah, so you're listening to this the day it came out, Thursday, April 6th, the year of our Lord Kelsey Ballerini, as decided by, I forget who it was we decided that. The phrase used to be the year of our Lord Blake Shelton.
Oh,
but
okay.
we've just, the new Lord this year is apparently
KB.
chosen for us, Kelsey Ballerini.
Yep. I love that EP, man. I love that it just is, it gives you all the dirt, you know?
It does. So new music, man.
Yeah.
What was the recording process like? Who'd produced it?
So I worked with Caleb Fisher at Farmland Studios.
Cool.
And David Dorn kind of was in the room as well. He played keys on it and kind of led direction a little bit as well. But yeah, the song coming out on Friday is called Bar Changes. And I wrote it about a bar in Bemidji.
Nice.
And it was fun. It's funny because we were
The Toasty Beaver?
No, not the Toasty Beaver. A better bar.
A better bar.
A bar that's still around. And it's funny, we were talking about like how Nashville has changed so much since our time being here. And I think I look at my hometown and I look at my college town and they're completely
You don't
different.
recognize them.
You don't recognize them. And when I graduated, my parents came to town and for the graduation ceremony, and we went out to this bar called the Keg and Cork, which had been around for years before I went to college there. And my parents both went to college at Bemidji State as well. And they would hang out at the Keg and Cork. And so we walked in there, and I remember my dad saying, "This bar hasn't changed since the 80s.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. And like that, for some reason, that idea just kind of stuck with me. And December of 2021, I kind of was like thinking about how like my hometown is changing, my college town is changing, Nashville's changing.
You are probably changing.
I'm changing as a person, but like one constant is that one bar,
That's
wherever
cool.
it is, you know, like whether it's Red Door or
Red Door will be the same until Jesus comes home.
right, or whether it's Keg and Cork. Like there's a bar in your hometown that is going to stand the test of time, no matter what. Hopefully, God willing. And so I kind of loved that idea, and so I started messing with it, and I brought like some imagery in from like my hometown about like painting the water tower and building a new high school. And I had like that first verse done, and I brought it to Cody Garrett, and we landed on bar changes. So
That's
and,
cool.
Yeah, it was a fun write, and
Was it just you two on that one?
it was just us two. Yeah,
That's cool.
And yeah, I brought it to Caleb Fisher, and man, they absolutely killed the production on it.
So for the people who've never heard your music, can you give us an elevator description of it?
Yeah, so I've kind of been thinking about it a lot lately. Like, it's country music for a kid who grew up in the suburbs. It's
I love that.
kind of like Heartland Rock meets like Brooks and Dunn.
That's cool.
Like I love that like redneck hillbilly country music.
Yes, you do.
So much. But that's
Joe
just
Diffie.
Joe Diffie. Like I love those guys, and I love fiddle and steel guitar, but like that's just not who I am as
Right.
a person.
You're not a redneck.
I'm not a redneck. I grew up in suburbia, like played hockey. Like I hunted and fished when I was a kid, but like that's not something that was like my passion.
Right.
And
You did it with your family because it was a family thing.
yeah, exactly. And so I think it's kind of somewhere in between like that Heartland Rock meets country music for kids like me.
That's
So,
cool. So that comes out technically tomorrow, Friday, April 7th. But if you're listening to this literally anytime, it's out.
It's out.
Go listen to it now.
But I love the production on it so much too, because since my parents went to college there in the 80s, like I wanted to reference those musical
That's awesome.
tastes that like my dad loved 80s music. And so there's a lot of synth in there. There's a lot of like sparkly guitars, like, and it sounds so cool. And it's a lot different than anything I've done in the past.
Really?
For sure.
Yeah, you've done very traditional country music in the past. Spare Key being that debut single.
Yeah.
Was that was the debut, correct?
My Nashville.
Your Nashville debut?
Yeah. Yeah.
Gosh, that feels like a lifetime ago.
Yeah. 2018, I think, or 2019.
2019 BC.
2019? Yeah.
Before COVID.
Yeah.
So you've got the new single coming out on the 7th, but there's more coming out as well, right?
Yeah. So this year I'll be releasing 4 songs. I released Things You Do When You're Young. Gosh, when was that? February. And
Banger.
Thank you so much. That was a solo write. And then I've got 2 more songs coming out this summer.
Cool.
That
And then you're going to release
be,
them all as an EP later.
Yeah, so I'll be doing them all as singles, just because that's what Spotify likes.
Right.
I'm trying to appease the Spotify gods, you know. And
I've never heard that. Appease the gods of Spotify.
yeah. And so yeah, it'll eventually be an EP and with some acoustic versions on there as well. So
well, as we try to appease our Swedish overlords, what's changing in your life for like outside of music? What's going on in Aaron Clafton the man instead of Aaron Clafton the artist?
lots of therapy.
Dude, that is something that millennials desperately need.
Oh gosh, there was something about turning or the transition from 29 to 30 that just really messed me up. And so like
I turned 30 this year. I'm trying to mentally prepare.
yeah, it's not as bad as you think. It's actually a lot more freeing than that anticipation is.
The thought of what it's supposed to be like in your 20s is overrated.
It is. And especially we're in Nashville too. Like everybody's a kid.
We're
You
all
know,
kids.
We're all super immature and we're all not on the life path we expected to be on. And that's
all
okay.
of our parents are like, do you have health insurance?
Right. Do you have health insurance? When are you gonna
How's
give us
that? How's that
grandkids?
401k? And you're like, which one?
What 401
401 what? It's
but
like
yeah,
it's 440 is the interstate. Is that
Right.
what you're talking about?
so yeah, it's I went through a brief little breakup with my girlfriend in this last year, and we got back together, and things are good. And I'm just like learning how to be more authentically myself, and that's kind of been my one of my main focuses this year is just trying to be okay with where I'm at and not try to put too much pressure on myself for not reaching like those life milestones that I
At a
thought
certain point.
I would have had by now. And so, yeah, it's been good. Like these last 6 months have been really great. And I feel like I'm becoming more of who I want to be, you know?
I like being who we want to be instead of who we think we should be.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, the perception of just the dark, drunk country artist in Nashville that, I mean, country music is an alcoholic.
It is.
And don't get me wrong, I've written plenty of booze songs.
Yeah.
But it's like that 80s rock star thing. You think that you have to be that to be famous or
Right.
successful.
Yep.
And you don't.
Yeah. And like I had like a little bit of a realization too the other day. Like I think another part of why I was having a lot of hard times in my 29th year of life was because I was comparing myself to all these other guys in town who are the redneck, who are like the Hardy, Morgan Wallen type
Mhm.
artists who are getting deals and having success. And I was like, how am I going to do that? Like, that's not who I am. And then like, I had this realization like literally 2 days ago. And I was like, you know, if 23-year-old Aaron saw like just moved to town and just wanted to make music, we're listening to like these songs that I have coming out, like he would be such a fan.
That's cool.
And he would be like he would be so inspired by the music that I'm putting out. And I'm like, that's how I need to look at it. And like, there's going to be room for it. There's room for everybody, you know?
Absolutely.
And I'd kind of had that narrow view of like, I need to fit in this box in order to have any kind of success. And that's just not
Why
true.
fit into a box when you can build your own box?
Man, preach.
Yeah, I love that you said you can be proud. Like a younger version of you would be proud of what you do now, because I was thinking about that. Like the community of tour stop that I've built is something that I craved so deeply when I moved here.
Yeah.
Because there were still writers' rounds and stuff when we first moved here, but it wasn't as robust. There weren't as many as there are now.
Yeah.
And I wanted to go to something like this.
Yeah.
Where people just wanted to hang out and be friends.
Yeah. And man, like I think back like my first couple of times going to tour stop too, like it was the outlet that I needed to know like it's okay to like put yourself out there. Cause like that first year and a half of me living in Nashville, I was very isolated and
I was too.
And very scared to go anywhere and introduce myself to people. And so thank you for building this thing.
Thank you for helping make it what it became. And
Yeah.
is right now.
Yeah. And it honestly, like that was one of those like things that really helped me like put myself out there and like know that it's okay to like, I don't know, do your own thing.
It's okay to say, hey, most of us don't know anybody.
Right. Exactly.
It's
I
okay
still
to-
don't know everybody.
I still don't know anybody. I do want to talk about Redneck Limo.
Oh, gosh.
You aren't a redneck, but you do have a song that I love, which I hope, knock on wood, will someday come out. But
Maybe somebody will cut it. I got to find some redneck folks that want
somebody
to
a little
that.
more, maybe Hardy.
Or Mac Martin, maybe.
Yeah. But who did you write Redneck Limo with?
I wrote that with Allie Dunn,
Allie Dunn.
of all people,
One of my OG tour stoppers, one of my old friends.
from Staten Island.
Which weird dichotomy of her writing a song about a pickup truck.
I remember I came in with that idea. I think it was like something about a limousine, and I was like, what if it's like kind of like a redneck type limousine? And then I was like, what's a redneck limo? Like, oh, it's a truck
Obviously.
with everybody in the back.
Yep.
And yeah, and Allie was just like, I don't know anything about that, but I'm here for it. Let's go.
What's the opening line?
We don't got an uptown. Oh gosh.
In a small town,
We
right?
don't got an uptown in a small town, but we're turning heads when we drive around.
Yeah.
Got the high life waiting on
Yeah.
us. Yeah.
It's a great song, man.
Thank you.
Hardy, if you're listening, we got a song for you.
Perfect.
Well, Aaron, is there any advice you'd like to leave to the people who might be listening to this who are thinking about moving to town or may live here already and are scared to leave their apartments.
Man, just go for it. Like, I think it's important to realize that we're all in the same boat. Like, we're all trying to figure this whole thing out, and like, yeah, it's gonna be scary, and that's okay. And like, just do your own thing, stay true to yourself, and like, just go say hi to people.
It was scary on that first stage when your string broke.
It was, yeah. That's a great.
But for some reason, you kept doing it.
Yeah.
It's okay to be scared, and that scared feeling is what kind of forces us to do the next thing.
Yeah, and also like, if you don't think you're ready to move here, that's okay.
Yep.
Like I remember like I had done like a meeting with NSAI prior to moving to Nashville, and they were like, you probably should just stay in your hometown for a little bit. And I was like, fuck that. I was like, I'm moving here because I was like, I'm not gonna, if I stay in my hometown, I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing here, and like, I'm not gonna grow. And if you want to grow as a songwriter, as an artist, as a human, like this is
it.
This is it. And this is like, there's so many talented people, and they're gonna push you to want to be better.
You're going to go to a writer's round and hear a song that's going to give you an emotional reaction. You're going to be like, oh, I've got to write something like that.
Yeah, it's great. The competition is great in that aspect where it's like, I got to be better, and I got to show up every day to try to be better. You know,
constant improving.
Yeah, exactly. So,
well, give us your plugs, bud. Where can we find you on the internet?
Yeah, you can find me on Spotify, Apple Music, at Aaron Clafton.
Not Eric Clapton.
Yes.
But Aaron Clafton.
Yep. And then on socials, just at Aaron Clafton.
You got lucky just getting at Aaron Clafton.
I know, man.
Were you like
Only
one of the first people on Instagram?
I probably was. As a marketing communications person, I was like all over social media when I was.
I wish I could go back and talk to Aaron in 2010 and be like, hey, so I know you want to have Schlibby9656 music guy as your username, but maybe just make it Aaron Schilb.
Yeah.
I wish I could go talk to that kid.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely thankful that I was an early adapter of a lot of things. So
AaronClafton.com for all updates, everything.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Guys, thank you so much for listening to the Nashville Tour Stop podcast this week, featuring my good buddy, Mr. Aaron Clafton. We'll be back again next week, but in the meantime, you can check us out on social media at Nashville Tour Stop, or you can find us on the web at NashvilleTourStop.com. We've got our whole live event calendar. We got a bunch of new venues that are coming up this spring. We're going to be doing shows at the Hard Rock Cafe. We're going to be all over town, a whole bunch of new places, and I've teased it before, but there is a huge announcement brewing, and I cannot wait to tell everybody. But in the meantime, please do remember that all roads lead right back here to the Nashville Tour Stop.